What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we're here with a card builder and I am going to be making the best pay-per-view for UFC Australia. Apparently it's happening in August, which I think, if my maths is correct, will be UFC 305. Maybe they change it up, maybe it only ends up being a fight night, I'm not sure, but assuming this is a pay-per-view, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 14 fights, 14 absolute bangers and a suitable return to Australia for when they come back. So, let's get started. The main event that I would make would be Drickus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. Assuming this is a pay-per-view, if they really want to stack this and do it right, this is what I would do. Drickus versus Izzy in Australia. Look, is this what's going to happen? Probably not. Is this what should happen? Probably not, because they realistically should just go to Africa. But we know Dana Pink is just sitting on his ass, waiting to get oiled up, and he is not going to Africa. Because he saw that video with those the big black guys holding up the whiteboard saying, we want to oil you up. And he does not want to go anywhere near the African continent. So I don't think we're going to see this fight in Africa. And even if we do, or if we don't, I think for some reason the UFC would be like, yeah, sick, we'll go to South African and a New Zealander, Chinese, Nigerian, Icelandic, Russian, everything, and we're going to put them in Vegas, because that's just fucking logical. But if they were intelligent, I would put it in Australia. At least this is where it was meant to be originally, and then Strickland ended up stepping in. But out of all the locations, if it's not going to be Africa, I'd prefer it to be in Australia, and then at least I can get a sick pay-per-view in my home country, and maybe I could go. But yeah, this would be a sick main event. I would pick Drickus to win, to be honest, using his grappling, but knowing Izzy, he's going to manifest his anime powers and he's going to use his plot armor and return and get a viral knockout, despite the fact that Drickus has never been knocked out in his UFC career. Izzy's just going to randomly rock up after the worst performance of his life against Sean Strickland and then come in and KO Drickus in the first round, because he's got plot armor and he has the power of anime. So yeah, I don't know how this would go. It would be a sick fight and a very suitable main event. And you would only need one title fight, especially with what else I'm going to give you on this card. If this was the main event, you only need one title fight. So let's move on to the co-main event. Sean Strickland versus Robert Whitaker in a 5-round co-main event. This is a banger. Trust me, this is what you do. Exactly this, nothing else. This is the best idea ever. So, you do Drickus versus Izzy in the main event for the title. And what you do is, normally, you know how they always put another fight, or they usually put another fight in the same division that the title fight is, on the same card, or at least in the card next to it, so you can have somewhat of a number one contender fight. This is a perfect number one contender fight, in my opinion. What more suitable for a number one contender fight than Sean Strickland, who just came off a close loss to Drickus, versus Robert Whitaker, who is coming off a win against Costa. Before that, he lost to Drickus. So maybe if Whitaker wins, it's not a number one contender fight for him. But this is like at least a title eliminator. And it would just be a banger. And if you're going to make this fight, it has to be 5 rounds. I don't want to see Sean Strickland ever fight in 3-rounders again. It's pointless. There's literally no reason to make Strickland fight 3-rounders until unless he's just not even close to the title picture. Like, if he fights someone in his next fight and just gets slapped and then he loses another fight after that, like, okay, you can chuck him in a few 3-rounders on a pay-per-view or something like that. But even then, I want to see this guy main eventing Apex cards. I want to see this guy doing 5-round co-main events, that kind of thing. There's just no reason to have Strickland do 3-rounders, and I want to see Whitaker get back into the 5-round spirit as well, because the last time he went 5 rounds was obviously against Adesanya in their fight at UFC 271 is what I'm going to go with and say that was that. 271? Sounds right to me. Correct me if I'm wrong, he hasn't gone 5 rounds since then. But yeah, I want to see Whitaker versus Strickland in a 5-rounder, because if this was a 3-rounder, it just kind of feels incomplete. You feel like you're going to miss out on stuff, you know. Sean Strickland needs the 5 rounds to make his style work, kind of, in my opinion. And then, yeah, if you're going to do, I think it should be compulsory that any number one contender fight or significant title eliminator is 5 rounds, unless it's a women's bantamweight fight, in which case you make it 1 round. And a 1 minute rounds. There you go. That's all we need for women's bantamweight. But make this fight happen, 5 rounds. I would pick Sean Strickland, to be honest. It would be very close. I would be eagerly awaiting the fight, and it would be a great fight to watch. And it would be close too. Like, there's no denying this would be a close fight. But we move on to the next fight. Magdala Madalena versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Look, I would also love to see this as a 5-rounder, to be honest. I think it would be sick because we haven't seen either of these two go 5. And I'm going to say one thing right now. If they don't end up with Drakkar versus Izzy on this card and it ends up not having a title fight, if for some reason they still stick it as a pay-per-view, then yes or no in the comments, I still wouldn't mind main event of a pay-per-view, Robert Whitaker versus Sean Strickland 5 rounds. Co-main event, Jack Della versus Shavkat 5 rounds. Look, I know that's not a stacked pay-per-view, but Australia never gets stacked pay-per-views. Our last fucking card had Tuivasa versus Volkov as a co-main and Manel Cap versus the fucking debuting Brazilian in the feature fight. Like, we had Austin Lane and Anton Trakal on the fucking main card. Like, Australia just doesn't get stacked cards. So even as a pay-per-view, if it didn't have a title fight, let me know in the comments, would you be okay with back-to-back 5-rounders, back-to-back, like, title number 1 contender fights with Jack Della versus Shavkat and then also Whitaker versus Strickland? I think that would be acceptable. It wouldn't be amazing. The card is brought to that next level with, obviously, Drakkar and Izzy. But let's talk about this fight. Jack Della Maddalena versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. I would love to see it for 5 rounds. If it's 3 rounds, it's not the end of the world. But again, I just said that all number 1 contender fights in men's MMA should be 5-rounders. So I'd love to see it for 5, but still, regardless, incredible fight. Apparently, Jack recently, he broke his arm in the Gilbert Burns fight, apparently in the first round. So Chad JDM for fighting through that and getting the win. And also, I saw recently Shavkat said he's not expecting to be back until August. And you know when this card's going to take place? In August. So fucking hell, what do you know? Make this happen. Timeline matches up perfectly. Shavkat right now, you know, he's doing his sand person tradition. You know, he's doing the Ramadan, alhamdulillah. But Jack Della, he's got an injury. Shavkat's performing religious duties and eating horse meat past noon or sunset or whatever, whenever they eat. All respect to the Muslims. I love you guys. Don't come at me in the comments. But yeah, this will be an incredible fight. Timelines match up perfectly. Jack Della, great boxing. Showing improved grappling, still not super crazy on him, but even Shavkat hasn't just been taken down everyone, and even his striking isn't shown to be impenetrable. Jeff Neal was cracking him, so I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, Shavkat smokes Jack. I would pick him to win, but I think this fight is actually closer than people think. And if the odds were anything more than minus 200 for Shavkat, I would definitely hazard a bet on Mr. JDM. But we move on to the next fight. Ikara France versus Steve Erceg, number 4 versus number 10. And this could be, definitely not a number 1 contender fight, but also another top, somewhat of a kind of title eliminator, I guess. Winner is 1 fight away, loser has to go fucking fight Tatsuro Taira or some shit like that. This is the kind of stakes that would be on this matchup, and I think it would be perfect. Australia versus New Zealand. Obviously, the last time Ikara France appeared in Australia for a pay-per-view, he was in the crowd because he pulled out like a bitch with a fucking headache and made Manel Cap fight a debuting Brazilian. So Ikara France pulled out against Manel Cap. He then refused to fight him again in December, refused to fight anyone, apparently keeps getting fucking concussions. Sound like this guy's gonna return with the fucking Cody Garbrandt chin. I'm picking whoever fights him next to win by KO, because this guy's getting concussed by fucking jabs from Dan Hooker in the gym. Respect to Dan Hooker, but come on, bro, you can't be getting concussed every time you get punched in the face. So yeah, I think I would actually pick Steve Erceg, honestly, right now. Maybe a hot take. Maybe I'm underrating Kai, because honestly, he's lost 2 in a row. He lost to Moreno, but he was doing pretty good in that fight. But Moreno ain't looking the best recently. And then he lost a close decision to the Sands dweller, Amir Albazi. But I think this will be an incredible fight. Erceg's coming off a KO over No Chin, Matt Schnell. Ikara France has not fought since June of last year. And before that, he didn't fight since July of the year before. So Ikara France not been a super active guy. Erceg made his debut in June, and he made his debut a week before he made his debut after or before, I don't know. He made his debut after Ikara France's last fight, and since then he's fought 3 times. So Erceg's staying active. Kai is, sitting on the couch. But this would be a great fight. I'd love to see it. Again, I'd probably pick Erceg, but it would be close. And I think this is a perfect fight to make. Australia versus New Zealand in Australia. And Kyle would probably be getting booed. Even though he is loved over here, I do think Urseg would be the fan favourite, and I'm pretty sure Urseg's from Perth too, so you got to get him on that card. We move on, though, to the main card opener. Hi, Tuivasa versus Zino Rosen strike. So, this fight, needs a couple things to go right. So, obviously, Ty's fighting this weekend against a fat Polish person, a big Polish bloke, and I had a sore shoulder. I was spotting this big Polish bloke, and then I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, just anytime I hear the word Polish, I just need to go into my Conor McGregor impression. So first of all, Ty needs to get past a big Polish bloke this weekend. Hopefully he gets it done by KO. That's what I'm picking him to do. Maybe I do prediction videos for the card, maybe I don't. Picking him to win by KO regardless. So if he does that, there's another fat man that fought a couple weeks ago named Zino Rosenstrike. He won because his opponent lost to his own heart and he lost to his cholesterol levels. So Shamil Gaziev, he had a heart attack. The gravy, the mustard, the tomato sauce, it all clogged up his arteries, and he actually ran out of oxygen delivered to his brain and to his arms and his muscles and all that. So it was an unfortunate for Shamil Gaziev, but Rosenstrike got the win. He looked kind of mid, I'll be honest, but I think that for some reason the UFC is just allergic to booking the Derek Lewis fight, so I would say do that. But I feel like Lewis, since he hasn't fought since the Almeida fight, I feel like they're looking to get him back in there soon, probably. And I think Lewis is the kind of guy they chuck on a weaker card, just to, boost a bit of the excitement and get a name on there. So I don't know. I just have a feeling for some reason they're not going to book the Lewis card. Rosenstrike said he wants to fight in August. That said, he wants to come back August, September, wants to take some time off. So if you're not doing the Lewis fight, you make this fight happen, assuming Ty gets past Tabora, all injuries free. Rosenstrike, he's looking to come back this time, make it happen. Main card opener is a perfect spot for it. Someone's going night-night, someone's getting slept, and the other person is going to celebrate with a trip to the local McDonald's and eat 17 quarter-pounders and 4 packs of fries. So yeah, that's what's at stake for this fight. But we move on to the prelims. Johnny Walker versus Carlos Ulberg. This is a banger fight to make on the prelims. Now, you might be confused. You might say, why is Ulberg fighting Johnny Walker? He's so high-ranked and Ulberg's not ranked. You are correct, but Carlos Ulberg is booked to fight Alonzo the Autist Manyfield on May 11th in St. Louis or St. Louis, whatever the fuck you call that place, on that fight night. And I think he's going to win. I hope he wins. I think he's going to level up from his last performance where he looked good but not crazy good. So I think he is going to beat Manyfield. And assuming he does that and doesn't get badly injured, that fight's in May, June, July, August. 3 months-ish. Sounds good to me. Don't be like Kai Kara-France and take a 17-year layoff because of a fucking sore head. Get back in there, and I think a Johnny Walker matchup would be perfect. I don't imagine Walker's getting back in there anytime soon. I would have said put him on the Brazil card, but that KO from Ankalaev was pretty bad. I don't know if his nose is in working order just yet. So if he gets on the Brazil card and he gets a quick knockout, or loses a decision without taking much damage, you could still do this fight, but I'm assuming Walker's not going to be back for a hot minute. If Ulberg gets past Manyfield, he'll be ranked number 12 or number 11-ish. A number 7 ranked fight would not be a crazy jump up. This would be a banger. Someone's probably going to go to sleep. It's probably Walker because he's retarded. But yeah, it'll be a good fight. We move on to the next fight. Justin Tafa versus Marcos De Lima. So this fight was already booked. This is not a super creative matchup. I could have done someone else. I would have loved to do Tafa versus Chris Barnett matchup. But Tafa's fighting next weekend against Carl Williams. Obviously, he's stepping in for Junior after Junior stepped in for him to face De Lima. So, assuming he beats Carl Williams, who's not that good, I think you turn him around not that quickly. It'll be a couple months off for him, and he can fight in Australia, in Perth, and he can get back in front of his home crowds because the last time he was there, and that's the last time he fought, he got a big knockout over Austin Lane. So, do this fight. Maybe he gets revenge for his brother, maybe he doesn't, and in that case, Marcos De Lima just has custody over the Tafa brothers, which would be an unfortunate thing, but just make it happen. You got a little bit of a storyline to build around. Yeah, it's a good fight. Someone's, again, probably going to go to sleep. But we move on to the next fight. AC ONeal versus Tracy Cortez. 13 versus 11 in the rankings. We have to get... we don't have to, but I'm going to put one WMMA fight on the card, and if I'm going to do it, Australia only really has one notable female fighter, which is Casey O'Neill. We only ever had one fighter female in the rankings, I'm pretty sure. Our second best hope was Jessica Rose Clark. Much better to look at with the eyes than Casey O'Neill, but still, she doesn't know how to defend submissions, so I'm pretty sure she got cut. But regardless, Casey O'Neill, you're looking to give her a fight. I could not care less about a winnable opponent. I don't care if she wins or if she loses. We just need a dance partner that's going to also appeal to the eyes in the same sort of aspect, or even more so than Casey O'Neill. So Tracy Cortez is certainly that. This would be an incredible fight, and yeah, we'd enjoy it a lot. We move on though to the next fight. Jenkins versus Gabriel Miranda. This one, not a lot of creativity. This is solely a battle of who's got the best mustache, because Jack Jenkins rocking that thumb stash, and then obviously Gabriel Miranda rocking that fucking 1930s French baker's curled up stash. So the winner of this the loser of this shaves off the stash, and the winner is crowned best mustache in the UFC. That's the only stakes for this fight. Obviously Jack Jenkins, the last time he fought was in September of last year, and he lost against Chepe Mariscal by an unfortunate, his arm snapped, which was tough, but regardless, this will be I think he should be fine. That'll be an 11th month break since then. I don't think it was fully cooked his arm, it was pretty bad, but hopefully he can return by now. And yeah, Gabriel Miranda, very winnable opponent, and also a wonderful stash to make this matchup extremely compelling. I'm doing the right things here. The matchmakers need to take note. But we move on to the next fight. Junior Tafa versus Robelis Despain. So this is a great fight to make, and the reason for it is I saw on Junior Tafa's Instagram story the other day, he actually called out Robelis Despain. He said, "Hunter, bring him to Australia." And then he posted an Ice Spice music over the top of it, which just ruined the call out. But regardless, still, I like the call out itself, just in terms of the message. The music choice was terrible. But it's a great fight. Obviously, I would in some aspect, I would be nah, just set up all the Aussies on this card with cans and they can just get all wins and sick. Because that's kind of what happened a lot for most of the card with UFC 293. They gave fucking Tafa Austin Lane, who can't defend overhands. They gave fucking Pedro Anton Tricali, who's allergic to punches. They gave a lot of the Aussies layups. So I could say do a similar thing, but I think this is you gotta send Robelis around, get him in different spots. He's fought in Miami. I think you should actually get him to fight again before then. I don't want to see him wait till August. I actually want to see this guy fight on the June pay-per-view or something in International Fight Week. But he's a heavyweight. They don't cut much weight. He doesn't take any damage in his fights because he swings 3 shots a fight and one of the 3 KOs you. So it's a very prolonging style, It's not hard on the body. So yeah, make him fight before this, honestly. I would say that, but if I'm looking ahead to the future, I don't see anyone beating him for a while. So make this fight happen in August after Despain gets another big win in the meantime, and then you got some real heat behind it. But we move on to another fight. Next fight is Jamie Malaki versus Clay Guida. This is just a good fight on the early prelims, just a classic. Jamie Malaki somehow still failing to beat 38-year-old veterans or 40-year-old veterans, whatever. Last time he fought in Australia, he fought John McDessie, arguably lost. But he got the dub, so fair play to him. I swear to God, he's not good at fighting. The last time he fought, he got fucking TKO'd by Kelvin Gastelum's brother, Nasrat Hakparast. So yeah, Malaki's kind of shit, but if he's going to get a win, it's got to be over a guy like Clay Guida. Come on. You got to be beating Clay, and even Clay Guida would just, he would still have a lot of respect by the Australian fans, and this is just a good fight. Malaki's not a veteran at this point, but he's nowhere near prospect status, and Guida's obviously one of the vets of the game. So make this one happen. This would be a good one. I reckon Guida would get along with the Aussie crowd. I reckon we'd accept him as one of our own. Just a cooked unit, just one of the lads. But we move on to another fight. Jacob Malkoun versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Don't clip the last part of that name and try and make me sound racist. But yeah, this would be a good fight to make. Jacob Malkoun's fighting, what's his name? Andre Petrosky in a couple weeks' time. I think win or lose. I think he might win and might lose. I don't really know. I haven't done much research into that card yet. But win or lose, it doesn't really matter. Barriault's not a ranked guy, so you can kind of give him to anyone. And yeah, this is just be a good fight, I guess. Just two Donnies that are just going to scrap it out. Malkoun's probably going to try and grapple a bit more. Baral, keep it on the feet. Not a crazy fight, nothing to get hyped over, but yeah, just a good scrap on the prelims. We move on to another fight. Josh Kibal versus Kyle Nelson. Now, both of these guys have fights booked, I should say. Kyle Nelson, there's no real reason to pick him. This has no significance in any way, but Kibal's fighting this weekend against Danny Silva. I think he'll get the win. I hope he gets the win. If not, still, this is an acceptable turnaround, even coming off a loss, unless it's like a brutal KO. Kyle Nelson's also fighting, I think, next week against, I want to say, Bill Aljo. There you go. That's my knowledge coming out, guys. I'm not a fucking casual. Don't play with me. But I assume both of them are going to win. This one, I literally just checked the featherweight rankings and I just picked a fucking name. So yeah, that's the name I came up with. We move on though to another fight. Final fight to make on the card, or to open up the early prelims, is Tom Nolan versus Jai Herbert. Just two real lanky dudes. Two absolute range merchants at lightweight. Tom Nolan has a fight booked. Obviously, he had a tough debut. He lost to Nicholas Motta, who's not very good, but I think he just had the octagon jitters. I think he should be fine coming back. I'm not saying he's a top fucking 15, top 5 guy, but neither's Jai Herbert. He's mid as hell as well. So yeah, make this fight happen. Just two real lanky blokes. Combined reach would probably be like 217 inches or some shit like that. These two guys should be fighting at middleweight if they had any muscle. But that is going to be the card, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let's just run through it one more time. Proposed main event would be Drakkar versus Izzy. If they can't make that happen, I still do think this card works with just 2 5-round #1 contender fights. But regardless, co-main Strickland versus Whitaker. Feature fight Della versus Shavkat. Second fight on the main card, Urseg versus Kai Kara France. Main card opener, Tuivasa versus Rosen Strike. Prelim headliner, Walker versus Olberg. De Lima versus Tafa. ONeal versus Cortez. Jenkins versus Miranda. Despain versus Tafa. Malak versus Guad. Malkun versus Baral. Kibal versus Nelson. And then to open up the card, Jai Herbert versus Tom Nolan. That's a banger of a return to Australia. The UFC really needs to hire me as a matchmaker. I'm the best in the business. Don't play with me. I'm cooking up here. Call me Chef Left Lane. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. We got some more videos coming soon. And yeah, that'll do it. Peace out, everybody.